All right, Ireland internationals Jack Byrne and Jamie Finn are on the line. Evening, Jamie. Evening, Jack. Can you hear us?
How are you doing? Yeah, I can hear you.
Not too
bad.
I
can hear you. How are you?
They're with us as part of the launch of Aviva Ireland's Lace Up with Pride campaign. The campaign will give people the chance to buy rainbow laces for €4 online at aviva.ie/pride, with all profits going to LGBTQ plus charities belong to Aviva Ireland, calling on everyone across the Irish sporting community to lace up with pride to show solidarity with the LGBTQ community, inviting young and old alike to embrace their true selves, wearing their rainbow laces with pride. And Aviva Ireland is going to make a €10 donation to belong to for every new policy taken out in June. Jack, I'm sure this was something you were more than happy to get behind.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was delighted to get involved. Obviously playing in different countries and being around, numerous football clubs and come across obviously a lot of players, and I think it's really important that players feel comfortable to be able to express themselves, and that's what this campaign is all about.
Obviously it's been to the forefront of people's minds lately after Jake Daniels became the first active player to come out. Is it something the players would ever discuss around a training ground, around a dressing room, how you would react to make sure that a dressing room be ready to react in the right way?
I think the PFA and the PFAI have already reached out to clubs and players and our representatives at our clubs. I think players would like to think that they're able to come out if they want to, or they can talk about whatever they feel they need to talk about to the group of players. I think it's very important that we show support if anybody does, and I think the response that Jake has got over the last couple of weeks has been brilliant.
Jamie, I think it's fair to say that the women's game could teach the men's game a thing or two when it comes to acceptance of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the women's game it's maybe a bit more common, and yeah, I think listening to teammates and coaches and staff are nothing but great with it, accepting, and it's a nice environment to be in, and stuff like that.
You've had a tough old season of it at club level, and sort of strange time in the international game. There's a long break, Jamie, between the end of the domestic season before this international fixture takes place, but there'll be no excuses going to Georgia. You've got about 2 weeks together, I think, before the match even starts.
Yeah, most of us finished up in maybe like the middle of May and stuff, depending on the leagues. But yeah, no excuses going into it. I think all of us have kept going, and with the help from the coaching staff and Vera, she's given us a lot of guidance and stuff like that coming into this camp. And we have a good few days together to get training and to go over and get the 3 points.
It's a brilliant thing as well, Jamie, to see the proper resources being put into this, because I think it's maybe 13-14 days out of Ireland, a training camp in Turkey. There's going to be a friendly against the Philippines. We've come a long way in a very short time, ensuring that the players are getting the proper preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only gotten better and better. As you said, we're going out there for a few days and training and getting the facilities that we can, and obviously playing that game against the Philippines as well. It's what we need going into such a big game against Georgia. I mean, we're hopefully qualifying for the World Cup. So yeah, it's all good so far, and hopefully we can go out there and put on a performance.
What did you make of last night, Jack? Were you sitting in the stadium or at home just thinking, God, what I could have done out in that midfield?
Look, I feel as if I can affect games at most levels of play, and it's not really up to me to say that. Of course, I was, as a fan, first and foremost, I was looking at the game and just disappointed in the result and disappointed in the other day's result. We obviously want to, try and win the group. And look, from being around the squad and being around the management team, I know they'd be hurting, and they'd be wanting to put it right, and they've got a great opportunity on Saturday now to bounce back from it.
How difficult is it, Jack, at international football to play the sort of game you want to play? Because it did feel last night that Ukraine in midfield had those sort of technical players that when they got the ball, they made it stick. They played the simple pass at the right time. They took the risk at the right time, whereas there were far more wide open spaces from an Irish point of view. Like, you can do it at League of Ireland level. We know that. When you've gone and you've had the opportunities at international level, how big a step up do you find it in terms of trying to impact it in the same way?
Yeah, look, I feel as well, I can only speak for myself from my performances when I've stepped in. I think I've done okay. You know, I think I've tried to play my own way and tried to affect the games the best way I can. I'm a small technical player, and that's my game, and I can't really do anything else. Only to try and get the best out of my game, and that's making a difference in the final tour to keeping hold of possession. And when you see the likes of Ukraine playing last night, they looked really comfortable in possession, and they looked like a really, really good side. Probably they look like a side probably that we'll probably come up against in Europe this year. Technically good. They could all handle the ball. They all knew their roles, and look, it was a difficult game for Ireland last night, and Ukraine played well, and there wasn't much in the game, but I think they probably done well in possession.
Yeah, Jack, like you were listening to Johnny Giles was on earlier, and he was saying like he felt this was maybe the weakest group of Irish players that had been in a while. But you're obviously a member of that group. Like you've been in that group in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years. Like, what's your assessment of the level of talent that's there? Like, do you feel that it's ready to break out, but they just haven't necessarily been able to show what they can do yet as a group?
Yeah, I think the last couple of games have been really good. Obviously the Portugal game, the Belgium game, there's real positivity coming into this camp. It's difficult to come in and after not playing for a couple of weeks and get going. And now lads might have been away on holidays, and we've obviously got 4 games in a short space of time. But Stephen's worked with a lot of the players from the under-21s, and he knows the talent in the group, and he's trying to implement the style and try and bring some players through at the moment. And hopefully we can just start getting the results now to give the country a boost, and give the players in there a boost when they see the results coming in. I'm sure they'll grow in stature, and they'll grow in the jerseys that they've obviously been given by the manager.
Can you talk about the coming back after not playing for a long period of time, and just how difficult that is? Because Shane Duffy, Jeff Hendrick, probably 2 players, an example of that, where they haven't had as much first team football as they'd want over the last 3-4 months. To have that bit from being 95% to being 100%, as a player, how difficult is it, and how much do you feel it when you're missing that last little piece?
Look, it's obviously massive. There's nothing like playing games, and I'm sure the players would have liked to have maybe more of a base than what they have underneath them at the moment. But it's not for a lack of trying, and it's not for a lack of effort. I think the boys are leaving 100% out there on the grass, and there's just nothing like, you can't replicate match fitness and games. It's just, you can do all the training you want, but there's nothing like being out there, and especially on the national level, there's no showing away. And when you come up against, I know people say it's Ukraine's maybe second string side, but they still have unbelievable talent on the pitch the other day, and they played really well, and it was difficult for Ireland. And especially if you haven't been playing regularly, it's quite tough to go in there. And I'm only speaking for myself, knowing how hard it was, to get going again after being out for a while. I probably should have been out for 2 months. I ended up being out for probably about 7 months because I was stuck in between transfer windows. And I know how difficult it has been for myself to try and get going and try and get back to my level. So I'm sure the rest of the lads are probably feeling that, although it's not as long as a break, it's still a break, and it disrupts your momentum, really.
Jamie, I'm sure you've seen the way that we talk about the men's national team when results aren't going well, and how vicious in many ways the criticism can become quite quickly in the space of 4 days if results don't go well. The way we talk about the women's team has changed quite dramatically over the last couple of years, with a new level of expectation, I think, and an understanding of the levels the players are at. Like, when you think back to the Slovakia game, it felt like that was the first time that there was a proper level of analysis and criticism of a performance. And how did that sit with you when suddenly you don't win a game that everyone thinks you should win?
Yeah, I think it's a compliment in ways, because we are improving, we are consistently playing well, and I think maybe when we don't go out and give that performance, we are criticised, and I think you only get better from criticism. And I think me personally as well, I would obviously would like that from managers, where I can become better or on the pitch, and what can I do better. So yeah, I think it'll only make us collectively better as a team.
The draw against Sweden was huge and has put Ireland in such a great position. And the expectation would be, considering it was 11-0 at home, that Ireland would beat Georgia. It's going to be a huge September. Then it goes probably into a very convoluted playoff system that you could play 2 games. You could end up in Australia next February playing another round of playoff games. Confidence-wise, in terms of how you see the next 6 months playing out, like, do you think this is a team that's primed for a first ever qualification?
Yeah, I think all players, staff included, have that goal in mind to get to a World Cup. I mean, that's a dream of mine since I was young, to play at a World Cup, and I think this group of players can really do it and get there. But I think we don't need to look too far. Obviously, Georgia's coming up. We need to just concentrate on that and not look any further than that. Because I think you can get kind of outrun yourself with thoughts and what ifs, because it's a big thing to qualify for a major tournament. And yeah, so I think we're just going to take it game by game. Georgia coming up next, and yeah, hopefully get the 3 points.
Jack, I think next Tuesday is the Champions League draw, if I'm right. It's sort of, I'm sure when you came home, this was the time of year you were probably looking forward to the most in a way. I know you had an injury before the break. Like, how are you physically, and how much are you looking forward to seeing where that could possibly bring you now? Because it could be a huge summer.
Look, I think it's one of the reasons why I came back. It's one of the reasons why the club probably wanted to bring me back. And you know, I had a slight calf strain just before the break, and probably came at a good time where we had no games, and I could kind of, you know, take it easy and just make sure I get ready for the next couple of games coming up, because we have some big games in the league, Dundalk and Bows. So look, it's a massive time of year. There's no getting away from it. The club have been building towards doing well in Europe for the last couple of years, and we think we've built a squad now that's, you know, capable of competing in Europe. And look, we certainly have a management team and a club now at the moment. I think that's capable of competing in Europe. From just leaving a club obviously in Cyprus, and, you know, a club that prides himself on doing well in Europe, I feel as if, you know, we're on the right path definitely to qualify on a regular basis. Hopefully, if we can keep the squad together.
Yeah, a couple of huge games coming up, as you say, at Dundalk and Bowes when the league resumes next week. Can I just ask you one thing before we finish up, and hooking back to the Ireland situation again? Like, a lot of the messages coming in last night, it's such a bizarre state, Irish football, that it was all these Kenny sympathisers. He said the League of Ireland could do this. You know, clearly was never good enough, needed to be a big name. It's such a strange thing, I'm sure, for people involved in it, that, like, you say you love Ireland at one stage, but at some time you feel you should still run down the League of Ireland. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, because I'm sure you see a huge amount of that conflict. Yeah,
look, I think, you know, from everybody in Ireland and everybody involved in the League of Ireland, everybody wants Stephen to do well, and everyone believes Stephen can do well. He's done well in European level. He's done well at League of Ireland level here, and in, you know, a lot of the games he's shown a real style of football and a real willingness to, you know, take the country forward. So, you know, we can only speak from, you know, talking to people around the league and talking to people who probably know football better than I do, that and the players involved in the squad, that, you know, they obviously have a lot of trust in Stephen. But look, we all know that it's a results business, and you know, people will probably talk a little bit more after results than, you know, if we had won the games, or, you know, if you obviously get beaten, people are gonna want to have an opinion, and rightly so. Fans pay their money to go and watch games. Journalists have to, you know, speak about stuff. But from just talking to the lads in there and speaking to people around the league, everybody wants, you know, Stephen to do well, and everyone's, you know, in the squad is really enjoying working under him. And hopefully we can get a good result on Saturday, because I think it'd be the boost that not only the manager needs, but the squad needs as well, you know.
Jack, Jamie, best of luck over the next few weeks. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.